Hi, my name's Sasha Moore, and I'm delighted to be here today with Brett Jackson, who's a Queensland Relationship Manager at Aquamore. Welcome, Brett.
Thanks, Asher. It's really good to be here and talking about what Aquamore can do in the marketplace.
Well, thank you for being in the hot seat. So we were just having a chat offline about Aquamore's judgmental credit
Mm.
approach and how a lot of the times Aquamore's able to come in and look at the big picture to support business growth, even if they do have some impairments or some debt or other.
Yeah,
So I was just hoping you could take me through a recent case study that fit that criteria.
absolutely. You look, I've before joining Aquamore, I worked for a number of the big four banks, and it was all quite rigid in terms of how you would approach transactions. At Aquamore, it really is a judgment-based credit call, and the scenario I'll share with you today might highlight some of how Aquamore looks at things in a different way to some of our competitors. In this particular transaction, a broker had approached us to finance a new business venture in North Queensland. The existing bank had looked at the transaction, but had struggled in some ways with the location of the business, the fact that it was a new business, and that it also involved the refinance of ATO arrears. And one of the things we found in recent times is as a number of lenders have been very reserved when it comes to looking at the refinance of the ATO. In this situation, the broker, in conjunction with Aquamore, looked at what ways we could potentially help the borrower. And in this situation, the borrower had an unencumbered property also in regional North Queensland. In some ways, a little bit more isolated than some of the traditional places that security might be held. And it involved a commercial property that had an informal formal lease. And together with our discussions with the broker and then the broker involving the client, the borrower was able to negotiate a lease with the tenant of the property they were looking to gain the equity release from. We were then able to use our lease stock platform to provide the finance, and our lease stock is one of the more competitive lease stock programs in the market. We'll lend based on 1.1 times interest cover, and that interest cover is based on the gross rent. And in this situation, the customer was able to get the funds they were looking for, refinance the ATO, set up their new business, and you know what? By doing that, the ATO and these people are an experienced operator and operated a similar business in another location, so they're able to bring that expertise to the fore, set up their business, and the longer term plan was that once that business was up and running, they would, and the ATO arrears was cleared, they'd be able to bring that transaction back to market and find a home for their finance needs in mainstream finance.
I love that. And what type of dollar amount was the loan for?
Look, this wasn't an overly large loan. It was for 500,000, and I think in that sort of 300,000 up to a couple of $1 million space today, it's harder to find lenders that'll lend there and really take the time to understand the borrower's needs and what the broker's looking to achieve with their client. But I guess one of our competitive advantages, we really do operate in that space in the market, and we will take the time to listen. We'll take the time to consider it, and look for a way to find a solution that's out of the box. And in this case, we made a judgmental call based on the strength of the borrower and their expertise, and how they were going to ultimately repay us.
I love that. Thank you so much for your insights, Brett. I look forward to speaking to you next time.
Can't wait. Thanks, Sasha. Cheers.